Hello everyone. This is just sort of an ad hoc stream. I was going to go through and spend some time tonight reviewing pull requests. I've got exactly one Mountain Dew's worth of energy in my system, so I'm going to go until I'm either done or I run out of Mountain Dew or time. So we'll see how far we get. This is mostly due to I've fallen behind on the material design in Xaml pull requests. So for anyone interested, it's going to be pull request on these guys. I'm hoping to get a release done and out soonish, so we are going to give that a shot and see where we end up. So there we are. Okay, first one's an easy one. These update icons, these ones here, you'll note auto detected by Azure Pipeline. I have a release pipeline that runs on a nightly process. It automatically goes through and generates these pull requests anytime it detects a change in the material design icons. In general, I'm really just looking to see if there's deletions, and the easiest way to see that is looking at the enum at the end. So they added some air humidifier ones, chili off, great, with some aliases. Okay, great. Cosine wave. I'm noticing analog and sine wave seem to have dropped, but those could have just gotten moved. Let's see, download stuff through there. It's also worth noting I have scripted the generation of the pack icon release notes. I don't see anything in here concerning. This is an easy one. In general, I haven't had to worry about these pull requests in a while. In the wiki, I have started generating out release notes of the pack icon changes. So in general, this library follows Semver. However, it's technically a breaking change to delete an icon, and the material design icons often either rename, which is effectively a delete. So in general, I normally don't do breaking changes. However, I have just decided that doing breaking changes when they relate to the pack icon names will possibly come in one of these updates, and I'm just going to document what those changes are. So that's my compromise. Squash, merge, squash, merge. Oh, and we got to set a milestone on this guy. So this is going out in this release. Sure, delete the branch. Doesn't really matter. The pipeline will recreate if it doesn't work. Okay, first problem. One pull request down. Need a Mountain Dew. Much better. Okay, let's carry on to something a little more challenging. Let's see. Fixed message discard prevents messages showing all. Okay, so when snackbar queue discards duplicates, it does this also after the message has already been done. That does sound bad. So this is directly from the demo app. You'll note after message 1 has been queued, re-clicking the button, as you can see the clicks multiple times, effectively stop that message from coming through. So discarding duplicates should only happen when there's multiple things in queue. Effectively, this is a debounce, is the intent behind this flag. And it looks like there was a bug with the debounce and that it was always debouncing. Okay, so a rename of the method, insert as last not promoted node. Yeah, this was a bad name, given that we had things like add before in here. This was a horrible. Yeah, and I don't mind the reduction of the name. The type, in general, including the type as part of the variable name is not necessarily a good idea. So let's see. So checks the ignored duplicates flag. So I believe this is on the end queue. So when you have a snackbar message queue, there's two parts to this. There's the when the item is added to the queue, and then there's also when the item is shown. And I'm guessing we're going to see a deletion that looks kind of similar to this. Item is promoted, not. Okay, this seems fine. Is duplicate. Okay, so there's a couple things I'm noticing here, and they're not necessarily bad. So this allows a snack bar message queue item to check another item against it. So I think, given that this is public, I think there's only a few. Okay, let's start with this. Let's check the code out. I already forgot my pull request number. 1806. And give me get cracking again. 1806. You'll notice some of these older ones I'm intentionally holding. They're either things that are breaking changes that I don't want to necessarily put in a minor release, and so I'm holding them for a larger version change. Or there's a couple of these down here that I'm keeping around because I think the functionality is good, but the implementation's off, and I don't know what the correct solution is. So open to feedback on those. Some of them probably should get closed. I don't know. I have this lofty goal of getting to a 0 pull request count. That way, it's just new stuff. Okay. So, let's go take a look at, let's see, snack, bar, message queue, item. All right, so this is the new guy. Boom. Come back to you in a minute. So this is public, and so in general, I would argue that we need a null check here, right? Because this guy clearly assumes non-null. But it's public, which means it could be invoked outside of us. And I'm not opposed to, well, it's an internal class. Probably should still have it. And I'm kind of tempted to go and write some unit tests on this guy too, real quick. Leave them open. We'll come back to that. But I feel like I want some tests around this duplicate logic just to make sure that we've had a lot of breakages around this in the past. So making sure we don't continue that. So let's see here. So this inserts an item, and I remember the snack bar message queue itself being particularly difficult to unit test. I think it was this class, because one of these has a timer built into it, and timers are just a pain in the neck. Yeah, I'm noticing there's a duration. Things like this are a pain in the neck to unit test. I've got some information in a talk I'm putting together around trying to unit test this, but the short version, it's a pain in the neck. Yeah, and so this is also a pain in the neck because this is effectively spinning a background thread. You know what? Does pump async complete while not disposed? This thing's long-lived. Okay, so we should fix this too. While we're in here. Hey. Don't all you jump at once. Task creation options, long running. I realized this wasn't part of the original pull request. So when doing stuff with the task parallel library, hang on. We're going to try that over. When doing things with the task parallel library, or TPL, if you create a task that's designed to be running for a long period of time, in general, you want to do task creation options long running because this is a very strong hint to the TPL that this task should probably not take up a thread pool thread because it's going to take a long time. So your thread pool only has a finite number of threads in it. You don't want this thing consuming one of those things. I think most of the time it defaults at like 10-ish, 20-ish. Don't quote me on that. Something like that. Has some small number of threads, which is great for efficiency because threads are expensive. But this guy is effectively got a loop for infinity, right? As long as until this guy is disposed. So he is likely going to live for some long period of time, like we're talking minutes, right? Like however long the UI is that holds on to this guy. So we're going to just do that for a moment and let him sit there. Okay, back to what we were actually looking at. Okay, so something about insert item around 264. 264. Oh, do I not? I don't have Karnak running. Sorry about that. Fire that back up so boom. There we go. Cool little hotkeys now show up. Yay. Okay. So insert item. So this guy goes through and adds snack bar messages, and I'm trying to think. I want to look and see. It would be really great if we could trigger this thing. Show async. I vaguely remember this being a pain to unit test. Yeah, this is also a pain to unit test, right? Because this is doing all kinds of threading, manual reset event, garbage. Yeah, that's going to be a pain. Okay, so the snack bar message queue item, though, there's no reason this guy can't be unit tested. Can't be unit tested. Wow. Maybe it's not a good night for me to be coding. Let's just make sure it's probably not in here. Yeah, the unit tests in this project were added very, very late, and so it's very common for most things to not have tests, which is unfortunate, but we're slowly remedying that situation. It's also worth noting that a lot of this library cannot be oh, hello, Houston. A lot of this library cannot be reasonably tested, simply because it is... oh, internal visible too. Great. Simply because it's UI dependent. So unit testing stuff with WPF that's UI dependent is a big no-no. You'll spend way more effort writing the unit test to try and make it work than it is worth, and you should probably just write a UI test instead. That's the general best practice. Okay, so what I was just checking there is this class is marked as internal, which in general means nothing outside of this library can touch it. However, we do explicitly have an internals visible to attribute set. In general, this is a bit of an anti-pattern. However, a lot of times we mark things as internal inside of the library when I'm not confident that the API is ready for public consumption. Because once I make something public, I'm sort of committing to support it. And so if I'm not confident that something's ready to be supported, a lot of times will make it internal, just to give me time to go over it and make sure that it is actually something I want to support. But it doesn't mean I don't want to write unit tests over it. So in general, this is bad, but and I will clarify, it is bad because it usually indicates a flaw in your design. Because you shouldn't be testing things outside of your public API. Snack bar, message, queue, item, tests. Right? Okay, so we will do, let's see, this is, I'm trying to remember, this project uses XUnit. Excellent. Okay, so just clean this up, clean up my usings. Let's see, fact. And using XUnit. Public void. Okay, so what are we actually going to test here? This is always the key thing to understand. So I think the first case to test is throws on no reference exception. Okay, that's a simple one. So snack bar, message, queue, item. Oh, you know it's already on there. So how about is duplicate throws on null argument. Right? So this is going to be a simple test. Assert throws argument null exception. Oh, what are you squawking about? Don't squawk. Add the thing. So let's see. For I need one of these thingies, and I'm really sure I'm probably going to need, let's see, item. I'm thinking I'm going to have to create these things a ton for these tests, so I'm thinking a little factory. Thinking a little factory real quick, just to make my life easy. Not sure what I'm going to need just yet. Why is IntelliSense appear broken? Content. So how about a string for my content currently? Come on, IntelliSense, why are you broken? I recently uninstalled ReSharper, and I have a sinking suspicion that that is contributing. So most things are optional except for that. So time span duration. How about time 0? Right? So we'll go something very generic. Create item. I don't think var is very clear in that case. So item is duplicate. Null. Right? Boom. Boom, 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 boom. Let's see. If we turn on live unit testing, we can then get insta feedback going. Drink the Mountain Dew and away you go. Okay. And then let's see here if we can get a couple more. So, let's see. So, what exactly does this thing do? Let's just dock you to the side for the moment. So, if it's not ignore duplicate, let's see. So, how about void is duplicate ignore duplicates is true. It returns false, right? So if ignored, so this should be a simple easy mode one, right? So boom, boom, boom. Let's see, item ignore duplicate. Oh, these are probably all read-only, aren't they? Yeah, so I'm gonna have to set it. I'm gonna have to set it here. Bool ignore duplicate gets false. Okay, this side-by-side thing is gonna be a pain. I'm gonna put it over here. I realize everyone else can't see it. You're gonna trust me. It's gonna be for my reference. So let's see. So ignore duplicate gets ignore duplicate. We'll just leverage the named parameters. Format that for me, please. Thank you. Let's see. So do that guy, and then assert false. Item is duplicate. Create item. So let's see, is duplicate. I'm wondering, I'm thinking we need content gets, right? I'm thinking we're going to start needing to specify these things a little bit. So we're going to just come in here, do this, right? And then we will pass this through. Thinking we should just do the duplicate case next because we really need the positive case to go with all of these negative ones we're going to write. Boom, and so we're going to do other. It is interesting that it doesn't consider the others ignore duplicate. It does mean it's a one-way street. Is that a problem? I don't think so, because these are really just saying, is this guy? Yeah, I think it's fine. So content gets GUID new GUID toString, right? So pretty much guarantees that that'll be not duped and not possible to be duped. Okay, so that is duplicate. I'm wondering, wait, ignore duplicates is true. So I actually want this, right? Like I want these to be duped. Okay, output window. What is going on with live unit testing? Build complete. Build completed with errors. What are the errors? What are you unhappy about? Show me your stuff. I know there's some NuGet warnings, but turn those off for the moment. See? Look, I clicked the button. There's no more warnings. They're gone. Let's see. The property is on, doesn't exist in namespace. Let's see. It appears we must. So these are demo. I am not really interested in chasing these at the moment. So poof, problem solved. Right? Output, build. The only one that failed. So it looks like we might have to do a rev of our MAAP stuff. That doesn't bother me too much. They're still in their 2.0 preview phase, and so they're constantly making changes. Look, that succeeded. Okay, live unit testing. Turn on. Build completed successfully. Building solution. Starting execution of tests. Excellent. Run the test. Make it be so. Find me my unit tests. So it's going to run. The initial run of live unit testing can be a little bit slow, only because it is going through and getting a baseline. But then as you start making changes, it'll get smarter. You'll note it looks like it's duplicating, but in fact, if we expand this out, it's because our projects run both against .NET 4.5 and .NET Core 3.1. So it looks like dupes. They kind of are dupes, but just in the event that there is some difference between frameworks, I don't think we have any conditional code based on frameworks. In fact, I'm fairly confident in that. I think the only subtle difference is a few like dependency references of stuff that's in the box versus stuff that's NuGet. Okay, so let's do the positive case now, because I think that's really is duplicate. How about change the precondition with duplicate items? It returns true. So we're going to turn this off. 2 duplicate items. Change the assertion to be true, and that should pass now, right? So what we're looking to see is those things change. It's thinking about its life and running. Great. Okay, that's what I wanted to see. So the green arrows mean the test was run and has passed with the latest changes, right? If you see that little question mark, it means that it passed on the last time it ran, but it hasn't needed to run with the latest changes, which for the most part, live unit testing is pretty good about knowing what it needs to rerun on. Not perfect, but it's pretty good. It rarely misses. Okay, so that handles that case, that handles that case. Let's look and see what else we got. Right, so we've got the other 2 equals are around the content and action content properties. So how about this? String content, string action content, right? We'll do that. I think I can come over here and just go something like action content. If my IntelliSense worked, I might just reset it to make it happy. So let's go down here. Let's see. So let's see, with different content, it returns false. So we turn off or ignore duplicates. We turn the content of this guy into GUID, new GUID, to string, right? And then is duplicate should return false. I kind of want to do the same thing with action content, right? With different action content, right? Boom. Something like that. So I want to see those pass real quick. Yay, look at that. Boom. Green check marks all the way across the board. That's what we like to see. Okay, so we're now fairly confident that this is working. I wasn't overly concerned. The implementation is fairly straightforward, but it does mean that if anybody tries to modify this to break those preconditions, that we'll get some unit test failures. Okay, so back to this. Because this is where this guy is ultimately getting used. You'll also note that ignore duplicate is used as part of this. So insert item grabs the first item. So if there is an item in the queue, if we are not ignoring duplicates and this item is a duplicate. So if we are ignoring duplicates, we'll fall down here. Is that correct? If we're not ignoring duplicates. Why do I feel like this is backwards? Maybe I'm just backwards and need more Mountain Dew. Let's read through this because we've also got the promoted logic down below. Because this promoted logic has changed to actually check item is promoted. Right? Because if you promote an item, it basically says push this guy to the front of the queue. Or at least that's the intent, right? So it jumps it forward to say be in the beginning. So this is looking at the first item in a linked list. That's what node is, right? First item in the linked list. So if we are not ignoring duplicates, so ignore duplicates as false, and item is a duplicate, then return. But this has the duplicate logic of what we had before. And the item is a duplicate. If we're not ignoring duplicates. This feels like this is backwards, and this should be if ignoring duplicates and the item is a duplicate, then don't bother to insert it. Let's test this. Because something about this is seeming a little bit off to me. Yeah, something about this is seeming off. Okay, so I believe, let's just fire up the demo app real quick. Because it looked like sample 4 in the demo app was what was used previously. Okay, so you here, task manager here, just want to check and see how it's doing. Looks like OBS is doing much better now that I got my hard drive issues figured out. Excellent. Hot reload available. Oh yeah, this is so nice. So nice. So nice. That'll be another feature to play with. Okay. Been playing with it on my other computer. Hot reload is wonderful. Okay, so example 4. Right? So foo, right? Send message foo. So if I click, 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 right? 3 clicks. And it discarded the duplicates. If I turn this off, click, click, click. Okay, so it works as designed. I am clearly just not smart enough to understand. Okay. So if we are not ignoring the duplicates, and item is a duplicate, why am I so dumb about this? This just, am I reading this wrong? Because this gets triggered on NQ, right? It NQs the item, inserts the item, triggers the reset event to let it go. So if we're not ignoring duplicates, because this is when should I not add the item, right? So if not ignoring duplicates, an item is a duplicate. So not ignoring duplicates. So if I am ignoring, wait, not ignore. I think this not ignore is what's making my head spin. So not ignore. Oh, means consider duplicates. Okay, okay. That made my head hurt a little bit. Made my head hurt a little bit. Okay, so I think this is good. Right? So I think this is fine. The last shown item goes away. The promote goes away in favor of this. So this will insert it rather than always promoting it to the front. This is a slight change in behavior in that it'll promote it before the first thing that's not promoted. And I think that makes more sense, right? If you've got two messages that you promote, you sort of, or I should say, if you enqueue two messages both with promote true, you sort of expect them to come out in the order that they were enqueued. And this would fix that. Which is better, right? Let's see, snack bar messages first. Surprised this syntax works. I didn't think we had nullability turned on. Clearly it compiles. Okay. They must have nullability turned on. That must be one of the BCL types. If anybody is interested in C#8 nullable reference types, I would love to consider pull requests that start adding them to this library. Even if it's only piecemeal. At some point I'm going to bite it off myself and go through and do it. There's just a lot of code to change. So there is that. That seems fine because this was checking on content, action content, ignore duplicate, and last shown item. This is by far much cleaner. Good code comments. I like it. Okay, so we're just going to add the unit test to this real quick. Double check it. What did we change? Task creation options, long running, null check, some unit tests. So let's see, unstage all changes. Let's do these one at a time, right? We'll separate these out. So make the thread pumping messages, or not thread, task pumping messages, long running, commit. All right, and I think I'll just do these two together. Added null check to item, added unit test for is duplicate method. All right, so some tests, a little bit, push the change, pull the latest master while I'm sitting here, and then we will go. I'm going to let the CI system run just to make sure that there's no issues. But we're going to preemptively just tack and approve onto the end of this. I really, at some point, need to look at, I think there's fancy GitHub actions that let you auto squash and merge with like a comment, which would be nice. Because really all I'm waiting for is the CI system to say, yep, we're good. Why? Where's the build? Checks. Show me the checks. Yeah, see? Pipeline running. I think the GUI's just being slow. Yeah. I want to see that thing finish. Okay. Let's grab the next pull request while we wait on that guy. So, add attachable property, background to hint assist. Let's see here. Set default as value for transparent. Yeah, so this one is a little more interesting. So we've got a hint assist. So in this library, usually any class that ends in the name assist is something that contains attached properties. Let's see. So background property, default value of null. That's fine. Let's see. So it sets the value on the background to transparent. I think that's correct. My only wondering is if it should be unset. Not sure. Hey, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. Welcome to the stream. Feel free to, if you've got any questions, feel free to post them. I have a horrible tendency to get on rabbit trails answering questions and don't mind it in the least. Let's see here. Where are we going? So I think, I'm just going to check this real quick. Yeah. I think we've got, sorry, I'm just bouncing between my options. Okay, so that's fine. We may come back to whether this should be transparent or unset, but I think in my original comment, I think I had suggested that it be, oh, that's the one right there. I think I had suggested that it should be transparent. Add new background, attach property, similar to foreground. Apply new property to smart hint control. Ensure that there is a default background set. Oh, so I didn't actually call out what the default should be. Okay. So that is probably fine. There is a subtle difference between transparent and unset in that transparent will let you be hit test visible. So if people click on that transparency area, it will register the mouse events. Whereas if you go unset, the click just passes right through and you never get the mouse events coming through. So not getting the mouse events is more performant. Does it matter? Probably not. Let's keep going. Let's just see where this goes. So we've got a hint assist is floating. So if the hint goes floating, it's going to set the background. I wonder why we need, I'm questioning whether this should be inside of this setter or not. Did I say that? I did say where the foreground is getting applied, so we might go and look at this. Let's go and just check this out real quick. Okay, attachable property here. Let's go there and take a look. Okay, so there's the hint assist one. Let's find, let's see, so I want to look at textbox.xaml. So textbox.xaml, that one please. And close all but this. So let's look for text box. What I've already forgotten the name. See, I'm not doing well at this. Hint assist, and I'm really interested in checking hint assist foreground to make sure we've got background setters at roughly the same spots, right? So foreground is set there. We've got a background to go with it. Great. We do have a foreground setter here. So is floating and gain focus. So this is a combination, right? So if you have a multi-trigger with two conditions, these conditions are ANDed together. So the foreground will only be set if is floating and keyboard focus is true. The background's being set in the case where just is floating is true, which is probably fair, right? As soon as the hint goes floating, we don't care whether whether we have keyboard focus or not. We want the background set. Pulls it from the template. That's fine. Oh, and that's it. Oh, okay. So that seems very, very reasonable. And then what is this 357? What style is that on? Material design, outline, text field, text box. So that would be, let's look at fields. Let's see, outline, text field, text box. So I believe it's this one, right? Outline, text field, text box. Yeah, outline, text field, text box. Wow, that is a mouthful. So this guy here. Yeah, so having this guy's background default to paper is probably the closest to reasonable. I don't know what else you would want that to go to. I mean, if people have their own custom backgrounds here, you may end up having to override this, but as has clearly been demonstrated, it can be easily overridden. So it is defaulting to a reasonable one there. And I think the only reason we can't use transparent here is because without it being opaque, you end up seeing the line through the back. I'm fairly confident in that one. So that looks very reasonable. I think this is a wonderful one, so we're going to mark it as approved. There's nothing in here that I can reasonably test, so we won't worry about unit tests. Let's see, set the milestone, set some labels on it, right? So this is an enhancement, and I think I'm going to tag this with the release notes. So this release notes tag on here, this just is a hint to me when I go to do the release that I should consider putting a little note, a bullet point in the release notes about this feature being done. So let's see, this guy finished here, so we're going to squash merge him first. And then this other one is probably in the same boat. Check for mergeability. They shouldn't conflict because they touch disparate areas. Great. Squash merge, squash merge. We got two things in. We are cruising. Okay, so I wanted to check this guy real quick because sometimes, yeah, see, this, I really wish there was a way to make it auto set milestones for me. I've got a little GitHub CLI that I've written to automate bits and pieces. I might add that to it to just go through, and if I put a pull request in a milestone, update the issue to go with it, right? In general, I always want the pull request and its linked issues to be in the same spot. Not always, right? There are, but I think at least if the issue is not in a milestone and its pull request is, it should probably go in that one. That's probably a very reasonable default. Okay. Let's see. So, what do we got here? Material design, choice chip, outline, radio button. So this sounds cool. And their list box variants. So real quick, my first question when looking at this is yes. So there is changes in the demo app. Huzzah! So for anybody wanting to submit, I don't mind if you don't do it. But before merging your pull request, any sort of new featurey thing, I usually try to make sure is shown off in the demo app somewhere. That last one is a little hard one to show off, but I do try and make sure that our demo app is a reasonable example of what's possible in the library. Not saying people should mimic it exactly, but it is expected to show off usually the breadth of what's possible. Okay, go away. Go away, little pop-up. Just noticed. Let's see. So let's go ahead and look at this guy. I got bad news. It's only about half a Mountain Dew of time left. Now there's less. Oh, what is your problem? Oh, probably live unit testing is holding on to something. Let's try that again. So, go here. Yeah, I don't know why. Don't know why you're all excited about that. Change branches, please. Because it's being used by another program. Fine, I'll close Visual Studio. I don't know who is holding on to this. Turns out to be you, Get Kraken. I'm going to be very disappointed. Okay. You're off the hook, Get Kraken. It was probably Visual Studio. Hey, no problem, Metal Slug. Do you have any pull requests sitting in there right now? I don't think I remember seeing any. I usually go through and review them in chronological order of when they came in. Looks like I just have 3 more to get through. I do want to go through and get the 3.1.2 release moving. Not at the moment, but I tested out the combo box fix and it looks good. Excellent. You're talking about 1811, this guy up here? I assume so, because I think you were... Perfect. Yeah, because you were the one who commented on the previous fix about its positioning being off. So, excellent. I'm planning on trying to get through most of these tonight. We'll see how it goes. It's almost 11 p.m. for me. Cool. Oh, and I do appreciate, by the way, all of the testing on fixes and preview builds. I oftentimes wonder how much testing I'm actually getting on preview builds, which always worries me a little bit before kicking another one. But my goal is to have us start kicking releases a lot quicker, which hopefully means that if I accidentally release a bug, the fix is coming soon behind. I've started scripting some other stuff. Ooh la la, what do we have here? Ooh la la. Yeah, so this is... Now we take advantage of this... Oh, wait, what? What? Oh, this is on an old one. Dang it. The latest demo app, I'm trying to remember who did it. There was a very nice person who implemented the very feature that I want, where you can just toggle light dark mode so I don't have to... Like, I constantly come back over here. Oh, you did it, Metal Slug? Thank you. I appreciate it. It's always bothered me that I have to come back here, flip this, go back to the chips. It's just a pain to test. Yeah. So this one is weird, right? Like, I agree that these colors don't look great. And I don't have a great solution. So, the one thing I will say, I thought there was a... Was this the one where I... Let me look. I think I had pushed commits to this. Did I push commits to this? No, this looks like it came in from a different commit. Where is the other one? Where is it? There's an issue I was going back and forth with. Yeah, this one here. And I believe it was for the same thing, right? Oh yeah, same guy. Perfect. And he had I believe I have this guy, right? Let me look at the commit history. Because one of these I pushed commits into. Or I pull requested into it. Did I pull request onto this guy? No, that one's synced. Boy, what did I do? I remember looking at this and going through it. Did I just paste the code in? Small update. Ah, that's what I did. I pushed my own fork because I didn't have direct access. Ah ha ha. So the one thing I did here, and I don't know if I like it a lot, but I did build up this little itty bitty converter here, right? So the hard part is the primary issue, I should say, with these guys knowing and changing their, right? Like there's a desire to change the colors out when you're in dark theme, which makes sense, right? So for starters, the request to change these colors when you're in dark theme is perfectly reasonable. The problem is what counts as dark theme, right? Like there's 2 built-in themes, light and dark, but there's nothing stopping you from rolling your own theme that happens to use orange and green, aside from maybe throwing up when you see those colors. So because custom theming exists, there's not a great way to know, am I in a dark theme? So I wrote this little converter here that can go through and check, hey, is a given thing a dark color, right? And to try and get things closer. And so it'll kick back something about whether it's dark or light, and it basically leverages this so we've got this method built into the library. Contrasting foreground color, right? So boom, boom, right? And so there's a lot of math in here and weird stuff. This math is actually not overly complicated. This is the same way that you convert RGB to grayscale. You'll find that these are well-known constants or things that are very similar to this. Some people use 0.2, 0.7, and 0.01 or 0.07 or something like that and get roughly the same, right? It's just how much should each of the colors contribute to effectively be a grayscale. And then we've got this somewhat arbitrary threshold that says, okay, if you're greater than this point, we're going to assume that the contrasting foreground color is black, right? So basically, if you were greater than this point, we assume you're a light color or white or similar, right? And if you're less than this threshold, we assume that you're a dark color and you should be black. And therefore, the contrasting foreground color is white. So this thing is built into the library. I don't know if anybody really noticed. It dropped with the 3.0 release with all of the major theming updates that we did. And so this is all built in and nice and pretty and works. Why? Just noticing that we have some weird code here. Why do we have discards? Can't I just do that? And can't I just do... So isn't that the same as that? Anyway, I'm getting off in the weeds. Where's the wig? Good question. Hold that thought. There. The only thing that's weird is for some reason my green screen and my chroma key, yellow and green are too close apparently. So you get those weird black artifacts where it starts letting the green in my yellow wig show through. Anyway, I'm going to put those back because I don't want to accidentally break something without putting in tests for this, but something about that seems weird. Okay, so that's the functional problem with these things, is wanting to do that change and knowing what is the appropriate color to put here. You're welcome. I'm glad somebody appreciates my sometimes dry humor. Yeah, so so I don't know the answer. I think the short version is I'm going to jump over this pull request for the moment and come back to it. Because there's I don't know if there's going to be a great answer, and I don't want to necessarily block this. And so I want to label this up, right? Like enhancement, and I think I'm going to leave it there, right? There's a quick issue here. Yeah, open issue. And I'm going to just put myself on here as a reviewer because I want to make sure to give this a thorough review and look it over. I think I could probably get that. Does material design have any specifications on dark theme? So the answer is yes-ish. And I've gone over the docs on this multiple times. It doesn't appear to be clear on exactly what the color should be, right? So there's not a clear indication of, in dark theme, this is how the color should behave. One possible solution I see to this is part of the issue here is this allows, it's leveraging some opacity, which is why when this is selected, it shows through so much versus when it's not, right? So there's some amount of opacity here that probably could be stripped out of the style. I've been slowly moving away from using opacity. Oh, thank you for the subscribe, Poker. I've been moving away from using opacity for theming colors and only using it for things like disabled. Because ultimately, if you've got opacity as part of your theme, it gets to be very problematic when it comes time to mix and match with other themes, which is, we're seeing it just in a small portion between dark and light theme. I can only imagine how bad it gets with custom theming. So I do like this layout of how this has been done down here. This is pretty cool in my mind because it shows you all of the cases of how this is for the list box. So if somebody wants to lay it out in here, which is pretty cool. But yeah, so I definitely like this, and I want to come back and revisit this. But I think I want to revisit this when I've got less tiredness and more Mountain Dew in my system. So, because I think there's a solution here, and I think the solution might be as simple as kill the opacity. I know when we initially tried to kill the opacity, there was still a problem in that things they were not easily visible. Right? So if people have a good suggestion of how to adjust this, I'm all ears. And again, I do have, and I'll drop this link in the chat because this is probably helpful, right? So, so issue 1757, my comment with this small update, right? There's a very subtle thing with this converter here, right? So if anybody's interested, that's where it's buried. Out on my fork of the material design. And again, it's this, I've shown people this type of converter before because this is not the first time people have asked for how do I detect if I'm in light or dark theme mode. And the answer is I could put in a check for if you're in the built-in light or dark theme mode, but at a certain point, custom theming exists, and if somebody changes one of those brushes, I don't actually know, so what counts as dark theme? So that's always the hard part of where it's like, what is dark theme? Maybe somebody lightens up a few of the brushes. Is it still a dark theme? Maybe. I don't know. So I like this because it's at least an objective standard. It's an arbitrary standard, but at least it's objective. Okay, so we're going to circle back to this. Let's see. Fix for selected background on Datagrid. Right. So this was, I think, Metal Slug, you may have initially commented on this, right? Were you the one who opened the issue? Maybe not. This may have been something that came up in Gitter chat. Let's see. This went back and forth. Yeah, Gitter chat. Oh, that's right. That's right, because this was the bit here. And update them, consider. Okay, so yeah, Oliver has been absolutely amazing when it comes time to change stuff. He's overly detailed, which I approve of. It makes it very easy to review his stuff. Let's see, restore the Datagrid trigger backgrounds, updated Datagrid. Okay, so let's see here. Let's take a quick peek. So yeah, I have to admit, he has been amazing, and the sheer quantity of pull requests he has submitted is he's making me look slow. I'll put it that way. And I try not to be slow. I try to be on top of things. Let's see, border brush, border thickness. Yeah, totally agree. Oliver, if you're watching this, thank you very much. Your contributions are not going unnoticed. Let's see. That's just formatting that out. That's fine. So multi-data triggers. So this is going back. Is selected relative sources. Mouse over. Selection active. Oh, clever use of the attached property. Okay. So one, I don't see any major problems with that, but let's take a quick peek at. Yeah, Oliver, you've started committing so many things. I'm just leaving your user as a remote on my Git Kraken because that's how often I need it there. this hair does not comb well, for what little that's worth. Okay, because I'd like to get these last 2 pull requests knocked out. Because more importantly, if I get them knocked out in the next hour, they get picked up for my nightly release, which would be cool. So, oh, right. Oh, wait, this is probably, yes, haha, that's the button I like. Okay, so there's that. I am interested because this was specifically around when selection mode cell, right? So it looks like the auto-generated ones is where it's, yeah, because that was the issue there before, right? Just making sure that it's there. Yeah, that looks nice. This is one of those areas. So in general, I would say that material design specifications should always take precedence. However, they are unfortunately very silent in how default WPF controls should behave. And so the next guiding principle is I usually go with it should then match how the default control without our styling behaves. And after that, it's a complete judgment call. So, but for the most part, that has served me well. I like that. That is, yeah, that looks good. Oh, that one doesn't have the validation. I don't know if, do any of these have that? Yeah, that has the validation on it. Boom. Boom. Clean, easy approval. Easy approval. Let's see. Files changed. Easy approve. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you that highlighting rows may be confusing. And I have to say, like, so in general, because the material design spec takes precedence, I think that should be the default. But there's been a lot of cases where I don't think their specification takes into account desktop very well, which is what we're building. And so there's a lot of times where I'll err on the side of making the default match the spec, but then making sure we can override it. That way people can go through and change it if they need to. So I think that's the closest to a fair balance that I can come up with. And I think this one, because you said you already looked at it, which gives me a high degree of confidence to begin with. Datagrid combo box. Let's just check. So canvas left. So that was probably part of the issue. So that guy got dropped. I do like this auto formatting. I have considered, and I'll show you this too real quick. I keep turning it on and off because I can't decide what I want. But there is this Xaml styler extension. And I think what I may do is build a pipeline that automatically formats the source code every night and generates a pull request if it finds any differences, similar to the icon stuff. Because I like the idea of forcing our XAML to be nice and conform to a style, but I don't want that to be a limiting factor for somebody contributing to the repository. So if people don't format their code, but it functionally works, I don't want to block those pull requests, right? I try to make this an easy library for people to contribute to. But at the same time, I also want the formatting to be pretty. So I keep toying around with that idea and playing with it. I mostly like the tool, and the default settings are pretty close to what I want and match most of what we do anyway. So it's probably an easy one because most of these look like they're just straight up new line formattings, which don't bother me. And frankly, this is easier to read than this. Let's see, smart hint. Oh dear heavens. Okay. Yeah, completely agree. So let's just pop this guy open real quick. Boom. Yeah, I definitely have favor the new line as well. It just there are I'm probably the most guilty of just putting too much stuff on one line. Don't watch my previous streams because I do it a lot. But in general, I do like the new line stuff, and the Xaml styler. It's got a setting where you basically can tell it how many attributes before new line, and so it forces you into it, even where, I usually will say, well, subjectively I can get 2 on this line because they're short and it doesn't make the line too long and whatever, right? But I really want it to be, if I get it down to 1, I can hit enter and navigate. That would be a nicety. Okay, do I even have a combo box on one of these? I don't know if I do. Oh wait, I got one here. All right, so there's that, and I think if I just make this guy bigger, yeah, that recreates the bug, right? Just moving this guy around and changing the size up, I think. I am noticing that vertical line, and I don't know if we've ever done this. Yeah, regardless, this looks to be working rather well. Once again, another easy approve. So, another very easy approve and easy to get stuff committed through. Okay, so there's that. Oh, I didn't check the last one to make sure I moved the milestone on it. Dang it. We'll go back and check in just a second. So, squash merge. Let's see. I don't know if I'm going to tag this with potential release notes because it's not necessarily something that people have complained about, but it's definitely a long-standing issue. So let's check this real quick. Did I fix? I don't remember if there was a. Oh, it did. I think it auto reclosed it. Oh, so this moved it here. That's fine. This is one of those areas where what milestone does that bug belong in? If it was fixed in one, broken and refixed in another, not a big deal. Okay, so that guy's good. That guy's good. That guy's good. Okay, so if things go well, and Metal Slug, if you're interested in testing the beta builds, I would like to kick a release. I've actually gone through and I've started genning up so nobody but me can see this, but I've already started genning up the release notes for this. And so there's probably, I believe I've tagged a few more items to be put on here. But you'll note Oliver name shows up a lot. But this whole section down here gets auto-generated for me. The pack icon change list gets generated for me. And so I'm planning on kicking this release soon-ish. Once I feel like I've got enough confidence to do it. I had thought about doing it before, and then people were reporting bugs with the Datagrid changes, and so I got a little gun shy on pulling the trigger. But hopefully that gets. With all of these changes going in, I'm sort of hoping that maybe sometime this next week it goes through. Awesome. Yeah, if you want to drop me a line too in the Gitter chat and let me know how the pre-release stuff goes, especially after merging in these fixes, those bugs that were mentioned were really the only things holding me back from kicking the release. So if everything there looks good, I'm pretty likely to just kick a release this week. And again, I kind of want to get it into faster cadence of just dropping out new releases every time, or dropping releases a lot quicker. That way things don't sit and stagnate as well, because I always hate having to tell people, oh, grab the pre-release NuGet. It's like, well, I should probably just kick the release. There's no reason to let it sit and grow. It makes typing the release notes a lot harder when there's 600 something items in them. So, like I said, probably this week, maybe, unless stuff comes up, and then I get gun shy and pull it off. So, and I think that ends the Mountain Dew. So I think with that, I'm probably going to end it for tonight. Thank you guys for coming and hanging out. Thank you for the new follows from people. It's always great to have new faces around. Again, if people ever have questions or there's things you want to see, I'm very happy to detour and do other stuff. Have a good night to you too, Metal Slug. Thank you again for all of the testing and work you've done on this. This has been great. So with that, I think I'm going to sign off and tell everybody happy coding. Have a good night.